Hey everyone, welcome to the Chess Boot Camp Fight Club. This is Fight Night, and you are what we're going to do. This is exclusive for the Chess Boot Camp Club players, members. So we've got an arena going on. It's going to start in a couple of minutes, and weirdly, check this out. Chess Boot Camp YouTube channel just hit 5,000 subscribers, so that's really awesome. So I've enrolled in this tournament. We've got 28, 29 players. Top rated is Hey Hey Bye Bye at 1967. We're starting in 45 seconds. And I've got my dear friend Christina is online to commentate alongside. And we're just going to watch some chess. And we're going to make some videos about it. And it's all very exciting. And we're going to try and make it 10 times more exciting than the recent World Championships, which, I mean, I have to say, yeah, I don't know, how many games did you watch?
Zero. I find it very boring.
It was, I think I sat through two and a bit, but really, these commentators, bless them, they do really well, but they're trying to fill, 45 minutes of nothing at all happening.
It's so slow. It's so long.
It's starting. Oh, I'm in a game.
I was going to say you're going to randomly get thrown in.
Okay, well, let's go. You might have to help me out. So this is 10-minute rapid, all unrated, and I'm paired with Kim Jong Ocho at rated 1600. So what are you playing against the E4 at the moment, Christina?
I'm doing the Dutch Leningrad.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't looked too deep into the different variations. I've just kind of been autopiloting the first few, but it seems to be working out so far.
So here we have the Icelandic Palmer Gambit. The simple trap here is Queen E7, so you're kind of castling and then grab the pawn for free because it comes with a discovered check.
Nice.
And then, however, if white blocks, then you can take out. I've been having some success with this recently.
Yeah. Does Knight C3 muck up all those
Knight
plans?
C3 is a different one.
Is that just as a defender?
Depends at what point. At this point. Okay, so right, so he's tweaked onto this. So I can now capture, can I?
Yeah, but if he recaptures with check, you'll have to recapture, and then he gets the bishop.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so how about develop the knight, long castles? Look at that, might work.
That's an idea.
This has been a long time.
I was gonna say, I feel like you were gonna get pulled into a game.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, you were saying that something's clicked for you, and you suddenly leapt up because I mean, when we were in we were chatting a few months ago, and you were kind of down at around 1250 or something, and really not enjoying your chess.
No, it's taking myself too seriously.
What happened?
I don't know. I started watching different YouTube. I still keep up on Chess Boot Camp, don't worry. But I started watching Ginger GM, and I know the way he thinks about the game really spoke to me. I think the whole just get a good position and simplify sort of idea instead of just searching for tactics. Really, something spoke.
Cool. So right now, I'm not liking his queen side very much, but it is kind of solid. So where's he going to?
Yeah.
You don't want to get his king over here.
Yeah, I think your best bet's to get your bishop out and maybe try to put your rook on the e file.
I could fianchetto that bishop, but
I mean, well, you got to be careful to undefend your queen. Oh, actually, it's defended by your knight, so
yeah, I could go for this and try and because I'm castling white. That looks okay. So we'll do this first game, and then obviously because I was registered, it's thrown me into a game. So there we go. Bishop takes. Yeah.
Bishop takes. Yeah.
And then rook h7, and then there's a free move. I'm expecting bishop e2.
You could even try to slide your knight up into the d4 and then maybe into c2. But 1600, I think we'll figure that out. You can always swap it off now, yeah.
Now he takes...
I would say swap first.
Got this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe open up the middle of the board. Should I just... The thing is, he's going to castle, right?
Yeah. Where's that knight going next to? Not really a problem.
This one, F knight or C knight?
F knight. But doesn't seem to be going anywhere good.
I think we should take the open file anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's principled. He is going to castle.
And then if you say bishop takes on F3, bishop recaptures, you get your knight to D4 and swap those off, then he's got to move the pawn in front of the king if he does want to castle that way.
So if I trade off...
Mm-hmm. Somehow get your knight to D4 in the midst of that. And then when the bishop is there, just take the bishop off. And then he's got to move his G pawn. And that's no longer a good place to castle.
Yeah. It all depends what he does now. I'm expecting short castles.
I think that'd be good for you.
Hmm?
I think short castling would be good for you. Auto resign.
Apparently, but then it threatens to auto resign people. It never seems to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is North Korea, eh? Cool.
Interesting handle for North Korea.
Yeah. It's probably his name.
Maybe.
Okay. But if here he's got knight takes, then I can't take the bishop because he's got the triangular recapture issue.
Yeah. What if you take F3 first? Recaptures with the bishop.
Takes. Then I can harass the bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Threaten that, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Takes here. Other option.
You also
start throwing my pawns up.
Yeah. You also can add a second attacker onto E2 if you move your dark square bishop at some point.
Yeah. I think that looks sensible. Line it up against the king.
What if D4? You've got to move it again.
There anyway. Huh.
I think maybe even D6 is like a safe bet right now. It lines up with the H2 square for some point in the future.
Bishop D6. Yeah, it's kind of solid. Yeah.
I think the F3 knight is really kind of holding the center together. So, yeah, he wants you to take it anyway.
So I'm inclined, because there's no blocked off pawns or anything, the board's actually really quite open. I'm inclined to keep both bishops on.
Okay.
I don't really fancy trading for that knight at this point in time. Oh, I could sack the exchange and then mess up his pawns.
I think you could do that without sacking the exchange, though.
What if takes?
Mm-hmm. Knight up. Mm-hmm.
And then he'll just retreat the bishop. He can put the bishop. Oh, he can't go there or there.
Yeah, he's got to put the bishop all the way back to disconnect the rooks.
Okay, let's try it, just because it's your idea. I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, obviously that's not really a threat. Just rook b1.
Yeah.
But he can't go there or there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility. I can kick it away again.
The only square he has is D.
Oh, then he's looking
D1.
at... What about this?
Yeah, but double the pawns in the center.
Oh, he's got knight recaptures.
Knight recaptures. Then you can always sack the bishop and then retake the knight.
Yeah. You mean bishop h2?
Right.
Yeah, so he's gone back here. Okay.
That's good. That's good for you. You almost love to get the knight out of the way on c3 too, because it's covering those knights were good in the center. I feel they were really covering center squares that you could have used.
So these bishops are horrible now. I mean, the dark square bishop in particular is not good.
Mm-hmm.
So now it feels like it's time to kind of strike. And start to try and establish some presence. So thinking g6.
Yeah.
push pawns up, really throw the pawns at this king's position. I've got great control over the center. He can't actually play rook e1.
I was looking at that next. If free captures doubles pawns, but kind of opens up.
And isolates his queen's pawn too. IQP position.
You can always go after d2 if you're looking for pawns. Bishop b4. Or even bishop e5, because then you're looking at
bishop e5,
the rook.
e1. How about this, sir? He can't defend. And if he pushes, I can trade off bishops if I wish.
Yeah, he's a point up. That's an idea. Double them up.
Yeah.
Because if you double your rooks and you get to the e1 square, it's checkmate soon.
Yeah.
2 bishops in the way from the other defending rook. In the way.
And that doesn't defend.
Nope.
That is one awful bishop. Okay. I have a free pawn.
Well, he's attacking your knight now.
Yeah. Okay, so I have to come here or here.
You can always, you can always move up too, but.
But
oh no, yeah.
Then I have to take. Okay. Let's do this then.
No, you're gonna pin. Yeah, it's gonna pin it. Oh no, you got your knight. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay. King on a dark square. Happy days.
He's gonna try to flag you.
Oh, he is. Okay, well.
Well, you definitely have a free pawn if you move. Wait, what about bishop e5? And then the knight can come over to the d file.
The rook.
Yeah, he's gonna have to defend. Yeah, rook. Sorry.
Okay, and here.
Yeah.
I've got h5.
Even f5 maybe too. Kind of corner the bishop. He's gonna run away anyway, but
go to there anyway.
It's your pawn's nice.
I like these opposite colored bishop endings.
For sure.
Being able to put all my stuff on the wrong color square so that my opponent just is ghosted. Okay. This attacks the pawn. It's third. And it's not even pinned. I have 3 attackers, so he's got 2 defenders.
It looks like an almost trapped bishop.
Yeah. But
f5 now has to force it back. And then...
Is there anything gained by it, or should I just take the pawn straight off?
I don't know.
I like the fact that he's got double pawn.
Maybe, yeah.
Right? He's 1 pawn up.
Yeah.
I could just play like rook takes, trade off all the rooks.
Careful with your back rank.
True.
Because if
okay.
Because if you take, he doesn't have to complete the recaptures,
I also don't want to push pawns and let him undouble these. So. Okay, I've got to move. Right, I'm doing it. We'll do it. There. Okay.
Nice.
No back rank issues now, and the only difference here is double pawns.
Yeah.
So I have to.
Oh, you a little bit trapped there. You can just. What about b6? Just moves up, gives you space for the king.
Pawn b6, yeah. Okay, he wants to. This is okay. Okay, so
he's plugging everything up.
He wants to.
Yeah, good square. I'm finding higher rated players less scary than they used to be.
Yeah, because you are a high rated player there. It's weird though. I mean, I can get totally spanked by a 1200 and then turn around and beat a 1600 on the next game.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think the
psychology
of it makes a huge difference too. Okay, I'm coming after this pawn.
I think you've got it.
I think I do. And my bishop is guarding the promotion there, so I'm quite happy about that. Okay,
he's going to defend with the bishop.
I think tidying up these two and then...
What? Why did he not defend them? Oh, the king.
Um,
What? Yeah, I mean, take it.
this, that, but I don't think there's any reason to defend the H pawn.
King takes a4, b3, and then shoot the pawn up. Maybe it's got an en passant move though. Unfortunately, you can't move it twice.
Okay.
Oh, he really mucked it up.
Hmm?
He's really mucked up that corner now because the bishop and the pawn are immovable.
Okay. I think 1, 2. No, can't go here. Have to go here. He has to spend a move doing that though. So I can kind of drawish, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
But I'm on a minute and he's not.
This is true too. Oh, he's got that pawn now.
Yeah. No.
Oh, endgames suck.
Yeah. He's won. Let's resign that, but that was enjoyable. Okay, but now we get to lurk and commentate.
I think you should take yourself out of the thing. I think it's gonna throw you to another game.
Only if I click next game. So I think we're okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So shall we take the top one?
Sure.
Hey, bye is playing Wasp 79. Got 1900 against a 70. Okay, fair enough.
Drew. Yeah.
Okay, what else have we got?
The highest rated games ends in draws, right?
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at Keldon Cullen.
This is the most dangerous game for our level, I think. The 1200-ish player, we feel kind of confident.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Callum's got the black pieces, is nearly 200 points lower rated, and is down to 1 minute 34. Now we've got
He's winning,
evaluation line on.
Oh.
This is black twinning, yeah. So let's have a look. So we've got 2 rooks. I think material's equal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's come from the French. Everything's just getting swapped off.
Yeah.
3-3.
They're also low on time. I thought there was a buffer here. I thought there was it was like a 10 or something.
No, there's no there's no increment. We're playing straight 10 minutes.
I think we're gonna go for the full swap and go queen c7. I don't know. That pawn is passed.
I just thought maybe rook d1.
Yeah, now he's got a fork. Nice.
Yeah,
I would have done that. That's what I would have done too.
So the rook can't move to defend the line. Good spot.
That is what I would have done.
Yeah.
Now black's got to look out for the back rank.
Yeah. And he's down to 35 seconds.
Yeah.
Alan may succumb on this occasion.
Nail biter.
I'm going to switch off the evaluation now, I think.
Yeah. I like the feature where you can guess when you're in an arena, you can like guess what they're going to do next.
Yeah, you can drag the moves, so I can guess that, I think. Hang on. Oh, he's just played that.
Oh, come on, what are you doing, man? It's time.
4, 3.
Did he just let that time out?
Yeah. Okay, let's go back for another one. So, this is close. Salty Garbage and Foxy Foxtrot.
These people with these names.
We're in another ending. Okay, so white has just played rook to here. 4 pawns. Material is equal. Okay, no, it's not.
No. White's up 1 pawn.
He can't play that because of rook here wins this.
Yeah. Oh.
Rook
yeah.
b6. That's my guess.
Oh.
Incorrect.
The pawns are falling. Next, I would
Got two pawn majority on this side and 1 pawn on this side. Ooh,
oh my gosh, something better there would have been, I think, b6.
Yeah. So it looks like we're getting a lot of end games right now.
Yeah, we can wait until, I don't know how it tells you.
Wow.
I think everyone's still on their first game, maybe.
Oh, he's down to 2 seconds.
Oh,
on time.
Man.
We want to see some games from the start. How do we see some games from the start? Or do we go down to the bottom of the list?
I don't know. Maybe standings. Standings will tell you who's finished with their games and who's not, I think. Yeah, these are the people who are playing. Now these people have won 2 in a row.
Huh. So let's find something else. Somebody, okay, how about this one? Oh, cool, right.
Perfect.
Scandi.
So the Scandinavian, E takes D5 is always the move.
That is the recommended move, yeah. So here we can trade knights. Knight takes, queen takes.
Interesting.
And then black, has a queen out on the board. So, but there's no knight here now that can kick the queen away, which is what happens if you recapture with the queen on move 2.
Yeah.
So now white wants in Keto.
Fianchettoing when there's a queen in the middle is quiet.
Is what?
I think it's quiet. I would have developed with some sort of threat. What about bishop c4 now, huh? Oh no, because then g2. I always am tempted to move the bishops when those pawns are vulnerable.
Knight first, then that's playable. And we've got a nice pair of bishops looking down towards the king side. That's bold.
Yeah. I mean, even bishop out to like d3 or something now, and then knight e2, and then castles that way is pretty safe. Just gotta watch. Yeah. That's an early exchange.
If we trade here, yeah. It does favor white in terms of development.
Yeah, and then the bishop come out and pin that knight.
So he's still playing Vienna?
Oh yeah, that's my favorite opening. And I learned all those tricks and things like the wild horse and everything. Like I've learned those just by experiencing them. Like I got like wrecked one time by that. I was like, oh, he's giving up the knight. Like what the heck? And I just got like wrecked.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely one that you learn through just doing. Right. So 2 attackers on the e5 pawn now. I think black's bishop to d. Okay, I would have played d6. I think to defend that pawn instead.
You think bishop?
Yeah.
Better not to use a piece to defend a pawn if you can do it with a pawn because it leaves your pieces free. As a general.
Fair, I guess. But now we could block castling really easy, right? If just bishop c4, then can't castle that way because that pawn's moved.
Yeah. I mean, he's unlikely to want to go that way. I think long castles for black looks sensible here. Where do you put the bishop though? Here? Looking down at this.
I think pinning and swapping the knight leaves no castling options. Maybe that's a thing to think about. Oh, interesting.
That was a good move though. By Octagon.
Yeah.
Surely we're going to trade off here now. Well, hang on, we got.
It's 3 and 3 though.
Oh yeah, 3 defenders. And now this king is looking exposed. How about this? That's my guess.
We got a 400-point difference almost.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Yeah. But
Yeah.
now Octagon has
Even
a
swap.
pair. So we've got bishop pair in a very open game, a very open board. I think f3 is like
That was an artificial attack.
yes. This is what we call artificial attack.
Yeah. Artificial fret.
Artificial fret. Yeah.
Yeah.
You did play that. Yep, there you go. And what's gained? Nothing. I think maybe you could drop back, come back to here. I would, yeah, he definitely wants the castle long. At the first
What about knight e6 now, huh?
two attackers straight on there, yeah.
What about knight e6? Nasty.
Bishop comes back to one of these.
Ah, man. But knight e6 is attacking like 3 pawns and the bishop in that move. Man.
Knight e6. Oh, yeah.
Before it was attacking that one, and the bishop, and no castling.
Yeah. And prevents the king from going through that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And g7 would have been a fork on the bishop and the king too. That would have been a nasty move.
Looks like white hasn't seen that option.
Do you find that lower rated players are really inclined to swap off pieces whenever they get the chance, whether or not they're up or not?
Yeah. I remember my mum taught me chess when I was like little kid, like 7 or 8, and she said she just called it timber shifting. When there was a trade, I would always take the trade, and she criticized me for that. I remember that.
Man, lower rated players don't like tension.
Yeah.
It's another artificial one, yeah. I would love to see the bishop on c4. Just stick it there. And you still got you still, what?
Oh, yeah. Nah, good play.
Why? That's too, oh, nice. I didn't see that. Yeah. Nice.
So this white is looking very strong now, and black is really regretting not having castled.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like, that's the biggest advantage you have in the game, making your opponent not castle. It's really annoying and also dangerous for the king.
Yeah. So are you noticing that the way you read the game has evolved a lot in the last year or so?
I think so. I'm looking more at control of squares rather than tactics, and I'm looking more at like things that are beneficial to you, not just like attacking pieces or finding tactics and things. I used to play like basically looking just for tactics the whole time.
Yeah.
And I was hitting a wall with that.
Okay, and here we have another situation. Look at the state of black. Stuff's all over the
pawns are crazy.
How do we get to this point? I don't recognize. Okay, Italian. 2 knights.
Yeah, a fried liver.
Yep. Okay.
Good fried liver defense on black's part.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting, retreating the bishop all the way back. I would have just maybe slid it back to a4.
I think so, yeah. I think so. All the way back here. Now that's blocking the queen as well. And now this, and now back to the edge of the board. Where's it? It's got nowhere to go from there.
White runs away.
I would definitely have done this.
We got a runner.
Rather than castle. Oof.
Ooh. What? A sack? What? I don't think black saw c3 there.
No.
What? All right.
Okay. Or maybe black is smarter than we gave him credit for.
Yeah, but king f3 would have been okay.
Yes, king f3, yeah. Okay, so here we are. We're up to date now.
All right. Whoa. That was nuts.
It was.
Checks.
Or this.
Yeah, I mean,
G3.
G3 drops. Oh, wait. Yeah.
Correct.
Nice.
Now, what do? So white has 2 bishops for a knight.
Yeah.
And board that is just exploded. So
I think,
what strategically, what do you do from this point in time? First priority has to be something to do with the king. You've got to get the king safe, right?
well, I see a lone queen off to the side with a couple of pieces sort of flanking it. So I see a possibility of maybe trapping that queen if it's not careful.
Mm. That's not a bad move. Bishop here.
Yeah. The thing about trapping a piece, right? You can't like signal too early that you're attempting to trap it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think getting the queen out, getting the bishop out.
Bishop d2 with tempo on the knight. Knight has to retreat all the way back to there.
Yeah.
And this queen comes back here and defends.
Mm-hmm. Whenever they played h6, that was a good move because it prevents bishop g5, huh? Which would have been a trap.
Yeah. This when and when not to play this pawn in front of the king here is a really critical thing. And
Yeah,
you're right.
It's really
to the relative importance of these squares because it always creates that hook, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. That really comes down to threat evaluation. If there's actually a real threat.
This pawn's pinned, right? So
the queen
is tied to the defense of that pawn right now.
Good point.
So
what if queen up to d2 and then queen takes h6? Relieves the pressure, certainly.
True. Yeah, and then we could trade queens. Queen takes.
Trade queens when you're 3 up. That's a good thing.
And I think then you would win the rook as well, or win the exchange.
Yeah, that would be my strategy, I think.
Yeah.
Trade those queens off because you're 3 points up. Just trade it off.
And there you go.
Nice.
Nice. And interestingly, this is something else that I've been reminding myself as well. It's all about just layer upon layer upon layer of patterns and things like that. This one idea that you don't have to bring your bishops out in the board for your bishops to play a part in the game, because they can literally just jump out, particularly when you've got one of these, hook pawns hanging there. They can
threat
a decisive role straight from, their starting square.
Threatening a5 too at the same time. So the plan's going forward.
This and that. Oh,
ooh,
the knight hangs.
We're ignoring.
You've got to take that.
Yeah.
Take knight. The 890 is beating the 1046.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh. I mean, 3 points or 4 points really is good enough insurance for me to trade. That knight's off in the corner anyway,
It's actually a free knight, isn't it? So because if queen takes, we take, pawn can't recapture because it's pinned. Then the bishop can retreat. We can castle the king.
It's all good for white, I think.
Very good position, and still with a bishop pair against the solo knight.
And it was looking a little, to a lower rated player, it was looking pretty intimidating at the start, right? With the queen checking all over and over. But something I've noticed is that the queen can rarely alone checkmate the king, right? So if you come in with a lone queen, it's like sort of wishy-washy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As Simon says, premature attaculation.
Gotta be careful now on d3, because I think if e takes d3, can't recapture with the rook because
E takes, bishop takes, rook takes,
pawn takes.
We always have this as well. And also
rook can't take because it's
takes there. His first problem is this, and then moving the bishop with discovered check. Yes, there are some kind of tactical patterns that are now starting to become more second nature.
For sure.
That still just passed me by.
I got up to 2,500 in puzzles over Thanksgiving break just for fun.
Wow.
And those are really starting to speak to me as well.
Cool.
I think takes there. You gotta be careful because then the bishop is kind of pinned there. And then if rook g8.
Rook's defended by h2, so if rook here, drop the bishop back, hit the knight again. No, Hanoi John is in a good place right now.
Interesting. Backs away.
I think drop back there. Or even, I don't know, is castles now an option? Pawn takes, what?
We're getting towards the end. I can see why they wouldn't want a castle.
Yeah.
But now, what about knight c4? Check. Can't capture with the pawn.
King c3.
Yeah.
Sends this. It's better than king c1, I think. Actually, it's defended by the bishop.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Check with the bishop now. Yeah.
Comes with a check. King can't go there.
Has to block, I think.
It's either that or it's that. Oh.
What? Interesting. Funny to see a thing that you just like wouldn't do.
Okay, this is fine.
Back there now.
Protected, so.
Yeah, what about even just to F? Yeah, I was gonna say F6.
That's our guess. This knight is
Because
back.
even if takes on G3, if rook takes G3, you can. Oh, interesting.
And now this will force a trade.
Yeah. I was gonna say even if rook took G3 there, the bishop could have just retaken on D8 and then threatened the knight again.
Yeah.
And then you'd have two pieces under attack.
You have the same problem with mixing up rooks and knights as I do.
Yeah.
It's kind of piece dyslexia. It's weird, isn't it? So you're studying. Are you studying your anatomy and physiology then?
So I finished up with that degree in May, and now I'm in physician assistant school.
Okay.
So
Cool.
trying to be a mini doctor.
Okay, so this rook's moved on to a light square.
Yeah.
Is straight back to here and
is rook G4, rook H4 just mate?
yes. That's straight mate.
Could even go to G5, H5 too.
There, hit the knight.
Mm-hmm.
There is mate.
Though black doesn't seem to really care about that knight. It's been attacked a few times. Nothing.
That's a peculiar move.
Yeah. Black's any ideas of bringing the rook to the H file?
That's a good spot, man.
Now the bishop. He just hung the bishop.
And win the rook.
Yeah.
That's really nice, actually. That's really cute. Okay.
That's cute. Yeah.
And actually, the rook behind it, the rook hangs. Good play by white.
Yeah. White's like, I don't need your stinking knight over there.
Terrible knight. Okay. So
yeah,
I think we take this one and we still
definitely
this one. And it's a one position, really. And look at all these pawns.
Yeah.
Okay, black really doesn't want to trade off that rook. I think black has to play this.
890, huh?
Yeah, good move to recapture the rook, because now this pawn, Harry, is on his way.
Yeah.
And plenty of time on the clock. Nice one, Hanoi John. But that's not great because it needs to have king. Okay, king should have gone this way.
Yep. But the bishop could have moved at any time. Oh, what?
Yes. Well, the king's still quarantined now.
Yeah.
I'll get through here.
Wonder what the plan is for black here.
You resign now. I think
white could even swap off the exchange with that
Yeah.
knight,
Yeah.
make the king recapture, and just head up with that pawn. Yeah.
That's the square for the pawn. The king's well out of the picture. Pin the knight.
Mm-hmm.
Check.
Yeah, and then that protects g6 from that knight coming in. Yeah.
How can the knight can't
Keep going.
Can't go there. That's the only square.
Mm-hmm. It's over.
Queen takes knight.
Now you just can't draw, right?
Okay. So I wonder if the games at the bottom of the list are the most recent ones. Let's jump into this one. Okay, cool. From the start.
Perfect.
Thin White Duke 85 is 872 with white pieces, and the Blunder King 64.
I like that.
In the UK, and we have a Pitts.
Whenever I see anything that's not d5, e5, I just take the center like this.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll even push f4 here and take a big center.
Yeah, I like that.
Fiend-headowing early
What are you
like
playing
this is
against
so
the
quiet.
Sicilian? Have you looked into the Grand Prix attack against the Sicilian? I'm thinking I might go back to it.
I always do the Alapin, or I was looking a little bit into the wing gambit, but a lot of people don't take that at this level, at my level. So
Yeah. So Alapin is c3, preparing d4. Yeah.
I definitely would have did f4 first there, I think. All right, now push d5 maybe.
Okay, so now, I mean, against this kind of modern setup, Harry can be very helpful. Also, that's
not good. Not good, because if recaptures, then wing pawn comes in, takes your d4 pawn with a threat.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Or you can recapture with that, yeah, but leaves that pawn looking silly.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now.
What? Ignore that.
Takes, threatens rook, but then we take a bishop and threaten a rook ourselves, right? Surely.
Yeah.
Takes.
You can also just recapture with a pawn.
Takes queen, forces a response. And I think white comes out with an extra piece here. All right. Okay. Well, it doesn't. But hang on. Yeah, it does.
I mean, yeah.
Okay. And this is up the pawnage.
Gives it back.
This has what? Free stuff. Free stuff.
Blunder King.
Okay. That is like a Black Friday deal that you just passed up.
American culture reference. I like it.
Well,
yeah, I was looking at that.
Culture in the broadest sense of the term.
Yeah.
It's only been around about 6 or 7 years, isn't it? The whole idea.
Oh, longer than that.
Really?
Yeah, my mom's been going for like 20 plus years.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the situation is 2 rooks. We are up 2 minor pieces, Thin White Duke, for a pawn. Look at it. Okay, and he's looking to trade off more.
Smart.
These
I would trade off the white bishop for that knight too. Double those pawns.
Yeah, for sure. Particularly seeing as all the action here is going to be on the dark squares around the king. So yeah, that's what we think. Trade that off. I agree with you.
Or trade off the bishop now.
Trade off bishop.
Then you can trade up some
rooks.
Yeah. But I think trade the knight first, because then one of their rooks has to recapture. Yeah.
So you're here. There's that's fine. This is all good. Come on, Duke. Right, attacking the
Interesting.
rook instead. Forced takes. Come on, that's up.
Yeah. I'm finding myself way more just getting a good position and then swapping everything off and dealing with that. Like, taking the advantage and running with it instead of trying to be fancy and trying to like whatever.
Yeah, it's like this skill of knowing when you look at the board, it's becoming easier to know what the strategic approach should be. Yeah. And in end games where you can say, okay, that is a critical square or that is a critical kind of spatial issue.
Yeah.
All right. I think trading here. When you're up 2 pieces, simplify.
Why?
Because this bishop is relatively bad because of all this. Right?
Why knight e2? Where are we going with that?
I don't know.
Because there's no prospects on the king side with all those pawns.
Trade off now. Come on.
Yeah. Come on. It's funny to watch other people play. You're just yelling at the screen.
Yeah, there we go. Cool. Well done.
No, certainly knight. Yeah, e5 is a good square.
That's great.
Prevents any more pushing of pawns.
This pawn here can only be defended with that. Yep. So does that force this? What are you going to do with this knight? It can't go there. That?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Bishop here, look at that.
I would have left the knight on c3 and maybe did a4 looking at c5, but not over to the right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, interesting. Unnecessary pawn. What about even knight to d7 is fine. Oh, but that hangs the b2 pawn. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Rook a b1 makes a lot of sense. Gets on the semi-open file behind this, but
yeah, I mean, white can get a rook on the 7th right now. Ooh, careful, careful.
Ouch. You're gonna have to trade off the knight for 2 pawns. But at this point in the game, that's no hardship.
If anything, it takes away the any protection from the king. Yeah, rook on the 7th.
Just go back to the World Championship. So, I mean, I just kind of had it on in the background some of the times, but then they go, "Oh, there's been a move." It's all excitement. Knight here forks the bishop and pawn. Then bishop there defends.
Hangs the b2 pawn though.
It does, yeah. I think this makes sense.
I think like
he's gone for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Targeting a doubled pawn, I feel like should be reserved for like the very end.
Yeah, I mean these pawns are playing no part in the game.
And if anything, it's just a good weakness to keep on the board. There. Yeah, that's good.
Bishop can go to there and defend this pawn.
But then rook up to the 7th, honestly, and then you got a good discovery.
Oh yeah.
Or even bishop e5 right now is check. There's a mating net somewhere.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah, and I'm starting to get a better just like a feeling about when, there's a mating possibility or when there's an opportunity that I can set up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There. Bishop there. Rook b7 anyway. The other really interesting thing as well is getting a sense of when there's a critical point in the game where you have to stop and start calculating like crazy. Some of the times you just know what the right move is. But there's these points where you go, okay, this is, however I go from this point is going to change the whole structure of the game quite radically.
Choosing which pieces to attack too, like figuring out which pieces are weak and not just always going for the king or the queen, right? Because you know me, I was always attacking the king or the queen at some point, but figuring out what the weakness in the position is another skill. We lost our discovery.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was one of those kind of half attacks that actually just prompted your opponent almost to improve its position slightly. I trade off. Yeah. Trade skis. Need to watch out for back rank again, but we've got extra knights.
I would offer the B rook at this point, honestly.
I
would offer the B rook. Rook B, B7.
Yeah.
Black is using the pawns.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You have to say, look, I'm down 2 knights. What is my advantage? What imbalance is there in my favor, if anything? And this is something. Right?
And I think
he's got a pawn majority on the king side, so that hangs the knight. Just hangs the knight.
Oh no!
Oh
no!
That hangs. Oh, you lucky bugger!
Yeah. And I think bringing the rooks over is, I think, a smart move behind these pawns, but take free material when you get it, man. When you're behind.
Oh, actually, this one, I'd say knight in there.
Yeah.
They're covering a lot of squares then.
But lower rated players can't ignore the tension like this. I bet you we're going to swap pawns. Oh,
I got it.
Nice.
Right.
I would just.
That's what I do, I think.
I mean, no, there's a discovery. Yes. Interesting.
That's still on. Okay, the knight is undefended, so
Knight has another check.
It does, yeah. Or G3 takes a square away from the king. Good.
Immovable.
King H2, G4 is mate. Sorry, G3. King H2, G3.
What if pawn pushes now, and then you can recapture with mate too?
Yes, that's mate as well. Come on, Juki. Yes, we did our
the Blunder King.
What's he done? Oh, okay, he's done that now.
Yeah.
Okay, what can Black do?
I don't think that's a good question. I think maybe because if f4 pawn pushes to f4, that covers the square, but the knight can just take it off. Yeah. But then that gives the king a g5 square again.
And still f takes g3 is mate. Yeah. If it's that, still mate. So for you now, kind of looking at breaking 1500, what do you think your what do you need to be working on now? Do you know what your current blind spots are?
Yeah. So it's been happening a few times. Whenever I see a big exchange, I always assume that the exchange has to go to completion, that there's no in-between moves, that the opponent has to capture all the way through. And it's not true. I had one yesterday. And I was like, okay, if we swap and swap, I get one more piece, right? So I'm just going to go for it. But there was an in-between move in the middle where the queen could have checked me and taken one of the pieces. So yeah, I just wasn't looking out for that. So I think, I think that maybe just It doesn't always have to go to completion.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, okay. Now,
pawn there, check. King has to go to g4.
yeah, and then
rook
d4.
Yeah,
would have been mate, I think. Rook d4 and still, I think, is mate.
Yep. There's something that I'm doing at the moment is trying to get into the habit of.
Oh, it's not mate because he has a pawn.
Consider one more candidate move on every turn. Oh, nice.
Nicely done.
Got there in the end. Good stuff, right? Let's try and find another one from the start. Yeah, this idea of adding another candidate move. Let's go. Who haven't we seen? See if there's one slightly earlier on in the proceedings.
Yeah, for me, I think I see a move, but then I don't notice that 3 moves down the line, it actually loses for me. So I think maybe more foresight is just where I'm at now.
Yeah, more calculation. If I do this, what is my opponent's best response?
Yeah. And what's forced and what's not forced.
Okay, so this is another Marshall variation. So we're looking from Black's perspective, French, Marshall. Yep.
Interesting.
And now the French bishop is actually a very decent bishop because it's all opened up. Then we have Queen e2 check, knight blocks, pawn takes for free.
Yeah.
Bishop breaks the pin.
You think maybe bishop blocks there would have been better? Because then it would have at least released it.
Yeah, I think so. Because this blocks in the bishop. Yeah, I think bishop blocks knight.
And the queen, honestly.
Yeah.
Ooh, queen moved back. Oh, okay, no, never mind.
Another attacker. Okay, so what are we with? 700s from both. Oh, it's your king is hanging. Okay. Queen e5 and long castles. This is where we find ourselves. All right.
I would push d4 now. And then you've got a2. Queen a2.
Yeah. So this is called basically deflecting the defender.
Artificial. The queen has so many places to go.
Yeah, and also the knight has moved from a square where it's defended 3 times to a square where it's defended not at all. That's something I'm trying to do less of.
That's a good point too.
I'm, trying to keep coordination where as much as possible. And, oh no, got knight takes. That was poor. I think knight takes is fine. That hangs. And look now. Oof. See? Because that knight's
yeah. I mean,
there and bishop takes anyway. I mean, this is sharp. Okay. Now, can Black castle? I think Black can.
Free stuff everywhere. I don't think that was the best move from White, though. Yeah, free bishop, huh? But then rook takes e6. Recapture the bishop, recapture the queen.
Yeah. Queen takes there is also an option. No, it's not. No, it's not because the
knight can't recapture.
Oof. This is super sharp.
It's looking grim for our heroes. Oh my gosh, GM. A 709 GM.
This is so sharp. Bishop takes pawn there. That's defended. That's undefended.
Rook is hanging though.
Oh, this rook, yeah. Maybe rook c8, line up with the king. Yep. Threaten this, even this.
Mhm. Man, this is not looking good for black. Ooh. Just hung the rook.
Hangs rook.
No.
Now this player has had some really, really good games.
Yeah, I've seen him a lot in the chat. Your king is hanging. I like that.
Really, really. It's one of those games that just degenerated.
You got some viewers from all over, huh?
Yeah. It's good.
Congrats on 5,000.
Oh, thank you. Well, that was really weird, because I was kind of saying for a while, oh, when we hit 5,000, we should do something like a club tournament, right?
Mhm.
And then it just happened that we arranged a club tournament and hit 5,000 literally about 20 minutes before it started, which was really cool.
All right, now how does this person defend?
Forced, right? Oh, no.
No. Checkmate.
No. Queen
Or not
checkmate.
checkmate. Yeah, checkmate.
Because the knight's pinned.
Mhm.
Can't recapture.
Blunder. What?
I mean,
boy.
It's okay. I mean, it's still a free queen, but this comes with check.
That's something that puzzles really teach you, because some puzzles have a lot of good moves, but you have to find the best one.
Yeah.
And sure, this isn't a good, I guess it's an okay move, but there's definitely a better one with checkmate.
I mean, that's a free bishop. That's a free knight. This knight
A free rook.
Oh.
He just hung his bishop. Messy.
Super messy. What do you think? Check now? Get this knight out. Centralize the rooks.
You don't even need the knight out. If rook d1, then checkmate, I think, is coming.
Rook d1, that's forced.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of things that can block, actually. That can block. So, rook here, that blocks. But it's...
Ooh, free rook.
Yep.
This is brutal. This is hard to watch.
It is. Yes, we need a coup de grace here. I mean, that's knight here, fork.
21 points up.
I know. Yeah, I'd get rid of the bishop.
I'd resign.
Yeah, that's another interesting question. How often do you resign when you're playing rapid?
I guess it's fair. I don't know. That's a good question. I'll resign.
Never resign. They just have a principle of, I'm not going to resign. I'm going to go down fighting.
Yeah. No, I don't like to do that. Every move starts to hurt more and more. So yeah. I'll resign if I know that I'm losing. But I don't resign. Like if I hang my queen by accident, I never resign just off of that. Like there have been plenty of times where I turned that game around.
I had a couple. Oh, I made a video the other week. I had 3 games in the same day when my opponent actually blundered, and then I resigned.
Oh man!
On the following turn, on one of them, I had mate in 1. I resigned.
It's the worst when you see that missed win at the end of it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's check out. I don't know. What do you fancy? You've seen.
Let's see the newest one. I like the ones that go from the start.
Yeah, okay. We'll go from the newest one. This is Callum and... Okay.
We're following this guy.
French advance.
I love the French advanced. That's my favorite variation.
As black or as white?
As white.
Okay.
C4 now, right? Is the best.
C3 is okay, I understand, in the advanced variation.
Yeah. Well, because I think from black, it was supposed to go C5, right? That's the most aggressive instead of knight out.
Yeah, because, yeah.
Ooh, back and forth with that bishop.
So what we've
You
got
think?
now is we've got a blocked center. So you want to get your bishops, yeah, lined up against this side of the board.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in a position like this, I'll decide to leave my king uncastled sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
or just castle in order to engage my other rook.
Pawns, pawns, pawns. I was thinking that square was a solid place for the bishop because f4 is a little tricky now because of the bishop on e7. Because pawn can come down, or even it just added another attacker to that square.
F6 is often a break here.
Mm-hmm.
If F6, if pawn takes, knight takes, then you can castle, get your rook on semi-open file.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a simple threat here of that. And even if G6, you could have bishop takes, takes, queen takes, and you've won 3 pawns for your bishop and obliterated the king side. Having said that, also opened up the king side,
Mm-hmm.
which is where your king is castled. Right now, it feels like actually feels like the king would be better going off that way. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, with that setup. Not a bad game so far.
Mm.
I think a few missed opportunities, but not bad.
Do you think maybe throwing pawns up the queen side now just to...
Yeah, I was thinking that. Make castling onto that side look unappealing.
Yeah, just kind of gently discourage your opponent from getting his king safe. Yeah.
Interesting. Now that really begs for f6.
Yeah, because f4, f5 is coming.
What? Why that?
Ooh.
Oh, I wasn't looking at that. An extra though. They already had 2 pieces on that.
And this again is another example of why you should get your king safe.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all these pawn moves that black's made, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think I'm kind of making my position more secure by moving all these pawns. It's very often the opposite.
Mm-hmm. I would say bishop can come back up to g5 now, maybe. Because then if pushes f5 now, you want to open this up now. Before it was advantageous for black to play f7, right? But now it's, or f6, but now it's not.
No. No, black does not want to eliminate these pawns.
Does not want that, no.
This is in black's favor right now, so.
Mm-hmm.
So is white. Do you think f4, f5?
Yeah, that's an idea.
The king's got nowhere to go either right now, and that bishop's stuck. Terrible. And this, I mean, it's awful, actually. Suddenly, yeah, black's position is dire, and he's just sacked a knight. Is he trying to open up this line for the bishop?
Maybe. Yeah, I was thinking maybe if black could get rid of the e6 pawn, then that opens the queen up to come help the open file rook now on the h file.
Yeah.
Queen can come down to g4, then h4, or something like that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, thinking of this with an attack on the bishop and a checkmate threat.
some counterplay. But what if bishop just moves to e4? Yeah.
Yeah, defended by queen and knight. But then then you've got to save the queen, haven't you? Okay, so defensive. Black's having a go.
I would. Yeah, no, that was good. It went undetected by black. Or by white, I mean. I would say maybe propose the trade now. 3 points up. If C takes B4. Doubles your pawns, but you're 3 points up, and where's the king gonna castle? I think it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, I mean the key strategic thing is the king's still in the middle of the board, so actually keeping the queens on is principled, isn't it? In that instance, if you're looking for attacking ideas, your king is safe, your opponent's king is vulnerable. How about this?
Hangs the queen.
Yeah.
But I would say swap those pawns off now, and then queen takes b5 is going to be the one. Interesting.
Queen there.
Yeah, we're going to end up with a queen trade anyway.
Yeah.
I would say knight maybe. But that does undouble pawns, so. I would say knights just develop.
Yeah, and actually knight here isn't a bad idea because this bishop is the only half decent piece right now.
Yeah.
So I'd really try and block off the d5 pawn.
It's a good thing that knight's there, otherwise d4, d5 would have. Yeah. You need like a c5 too to help that out.
Yeah, I think knight in there is still, if knight takes, bishop takes, and we're good. +4 is up a knight and a pawn.
And what prospects, right? Like the bishop is blocked a lot. The dark square bishop can't go anywhere nice right now.
So strategy for white now. That's nice. Simplify. Just simplify right down. King is relatively safe.
Interesting. So what if
it's not doing much. I'd route him round, I think.
Probably swap off this knight and then push the pawn maybe. Attack the bishop again. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Hangs your own pawn, but yeah, I mean, all right, now I see a fork. Yep.
That doesn't work. The bishop takes or knight takes. It'd be nice to be able to dislodge this defender. Don't know how.
Yeah, certainly letting black take a little bit of initiative.
Yeah, this pawn's hanging.
And now if the c pawn moves, then that bishop can dislodge the knight.
Oh, this d pawn, you think?
No, the c pawn. So if c pawn moves anywhere, then bishop can come down to a5.
I'm liking this as well. Attack the bishop and also threaten to open up the king.
Yeah, but knight could just recapture, right?
Oh, with that, yeah, knight takes.
That's the other thing. The piece that you would recapture with is not necessarily the piece that they need to recapture with.
Yeah. Which is why you have to say, what is my opponent's best response? Again, you want to dislodge this knight. It's not hopeless for black, actually, right now.
No, I mean it's got a good knight. The knight there is pretty good. White hung a pawn too. A3 on the next one, maybe. Oh, sack. What's the I feel like people have been doing that. What's the why? Why are we sacking pieces?
I don't know. He's now 6 points behind. Okay, so I think simple plan. Charge up the board with the D pawn.
All right, well, that defends A3 and attacks C7. Ooh, but yeah. I mean, A4 can defend that. But yeah, pawn coming next. Yeah, yeah. Or even, what about, yeah, D4.
Yeah, it's nice. But then still, he can attack the pin piece.
Yeah, I think bishop D3 is the best move here. Yeah.
Good, well played. But the bishop's undefended, so if we attack the knight now, knight moves.
It's true.
With a fork on both rooks.
Ooh. Black has some prospects.
Good move. Come on, Black.
What about I mean, knight C7 now also attacks a rook of its own, but I think it's too slow.
It's not bad though.
It's something.
Yes. Okay, so
too bad that's not with check, right? Because then you can get one of the rooks out of the way.
And okay, well look,
okay.
Black has one apiece back. Black 6 points down is now 3 points down, and has a decent bishop. So now, oh no, that you have to say, why did my opponent make that move? And you know, attacking a hanging. I'd have pushed C5. I'm sure of it. So the key thing here is the outside pass pawn on A3.
It has to be said too that white would only be 1 point up if they didn't sack the knight before.
True. Oh, white would be 0. Oh, maybe.
Ooh, nice. Take it, take it, take it. Knight takes. Or bishop takes, honestly.
I don't see the point of that move.
Yeah. Very artificial. It was your simple plan from before, though. Just push that pawn.
So I do, but that pawn's protected. This is actually quite solid.
I think maybe just rook G3 now.
This is unpleasant.
Oh, that's good. That defends D2. Swap the bishops off, I think. Bishop C5. Because the dark square bishop is limiting the knight from moving around. Nice.
You called it. Come and attack that pawn.
Yeah.
That bishop's in a nice space there. Popped off that pawn. You've still got to find a way to win, though.
Ooh.
I'll be tempted to capture. Oh, yeah.
Nice. And now surely rook G3. Start the attack. Oh, rook G3. Oh, okay, okay.
Okay. This is eminently resignable.
Yeah, I think this person's like one of those that doesn't want to resign, though.
The moment to engage the king as well, that's another important, strategic.
Yeah, when exactly do you start centralizing a king?
Yeah. I think a lot of beginners something I'm noticing with like particularly like sub 1000 players is failing to finish development and still playing on with developed pieces too much. And I think I might give up that pawn, move the bishop with the discovery on that one, the rook. But okay, he's defending. Yeah, and also leaving the rooks out of the game until too late. You know, bringing in your rooks is such a key thing. Here and push.
Yeah, I could just keep pushing.
Because this is protected.
We could also just push a pawn. That makes sense too.
Yeah, true. Rook comes here. We've got this.
Take. Yeah, or just push. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, just push.
Yeah. This is tricky now for black because he can't stop that pawn. It's 3 moves. How about this? Cover that square.
It's defend. Oh.
Okay, but now, yeah. But white only has a minute on the clock, so he's got to move with some level of intent now.
Yeah.
It's a totally one position. Okay, yeah, clear out the pawn, good.
Don't stalemate. Yeah, definitely not. Definitely. Yeah.
Now the king can't move.
There's a mate somewhere.
I think rook here, push the pawn up and just ladder mate. But careful about putting the pawn here because then the king. No, the king had to get off the back rank then. Okay. Well, you know, job done with 49 seconds to go. So
yeah,
let's pick another one. So
does everyone know you're commenting?
Yeah, but we're not streaming it. There's a lot of disparity in the.
Ooh, that's Ed.
Where's Ed?
Ott Milker, 798 against Chandra Prakash, 1384.
Oh yeah. Hey Ed, right. Let's check this out. Okay.
Ooh, Ed's up 1.
Let's check it out. Okay. French advance.
French advance.
B3. Okay, and Ed's playing with the black pieces, so should we watch it from Ed's perspective, since we both know him?
Nice.
Okay. Now,
early.
Often played, it's quite often you'll put your bishop there first, but
yeah,
so that you can castle straight away with threats. Bishop, yeah, blocks, castles, kicks. Always an important question, this. Do you take back with the bishop? Possibly bishop, yeah. Because then he does have some scope here now.
I think Ed has a lot of potential just as a player. Him and I have been talking a lot. I give him a few lessons here and there. And I feel like he gets really hung up on openings. Like he wants to just like memorize the opening.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get him to just like play principle and make the best decisions and not just, memorize them, but it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly think, up to our level, I could have done fine without memorizing any theory at all.
Yeah.
You literally teach yourself to have that goldfish mentality and just play the board as it is. And like you say, puzzles is very good for that. But this pawn e6 is hanging.
Let's keep going.
Oh, that pawn was hanging there. He could have snatched it off. Chandra Prakash. Still hanging. What do you think? Drop the bishop back or queen d7? Castle still hanging. Takes it. Okay.
Oof.
Okay. Hit the rook. Takes.
Ooh.
This is the 1384.
Swapping the exchange.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's how Ed ended up a point up.
Okay, and now develop knight. Cool. This is good. Ed's got decent pawns as well. Got some space on the queen side. Play probably rook a8 here. Defend the queen. Sorry about my dogs. Sorry.
It's okay.
Rook F7.
Yeah.
Yep. Queen picks up a pawn, and now this bishop's pinned. So I think something like that. Okay.
I've seen Ed do that before. Swap off queens for no reason.
Yeah. Now this bishop's still pinned because the rook's on the other ranks.
Yeah, I think we just keep the rooks doubled up.
Okay, king. Now that's useful.
Bring the king in. Yeah, I like that.
Okay, we've got 7 minutes on the clock, and we are in an ending. What was the purpose of that move? I'd have come straight across to here. You know, if you can finish with the only rook.
Yeah. Maybe he was looking to take an open file.
Yeah, I'd have gone to that.
Having 2 rooks right now is really advantageous.
Oh, that's not bad. It defends his rook. This.
What?
Yeah, I saw that pin, but
no.
It's not a threat because if takes, you've got knight takes. Oh no, then it's
knight can recapture. Yeah.
Their knight can't recapture. It has to be the pawn.
No. Right now, knight G4. I think he hung.
Oh yeah, true.
Ed hung a bishop.
Yeah. Okay, white missed it. Takes.
Wow, white missed it.
Yeah. Surely you're going to trade the last rook, yeah? Yeah.
Nice.
And now we have and the knight. King
centralized
moves.
King.
Okay, so what have we got? White has 1 pawn advantage on both sides of the board. Right. Yeah, he does. So materials is actually equal. Okay, now we're up to date, and it's Ed to move. So
they both moved fairly quickly in this game. Oh, I would go straight over to. Yeah. It's going to be tough to get those pawns, though. They're all together.
I think you need to bring your king to here to look after these guys. Yes, good. Well done, Eddie.
We are cheering.
There.
Yeah.
You know that when you've got 2 diagonal spaces away from a knight, that knight cannot touch you. Take 3 goes, 3 jumps to check you. That looks good. Well done.
And now, rook B1 surely wins that pawn, unless the knight moves again. Okay, a little foresight. It's gonna be tough.
Cuts off the rook's scope there.
Yeah, I would move the rook out of that corner for sure. Because if king went to E2,
if the knight can get to like here, then the rook's trapped.
Yeah. I was gonna say king E2, knight E1 blocks in the rook, and we got pawn majority. We'll win the game for you. Okay, what about? Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Okay, and then.
Man, the king is too close.
And this is why you say, you know, there's this point in the game where suddenly your king turns from your biggest liability to one of your biggest strengths very often. And it's knowing when that time is. Because this king right now is kind of tying everything together. You can't even go there.
Yeah, Ed's pawns are not fun for this ending.
How do you think the computer would evaluate this? Do you think it would say white is fine?
I think it would say it's pretty equal, or white's a little bit better, honestly. Because all these pawns are just going to work together, and the king is right in your face.
Yeah.
I think Ed could probably force a draw at some point, maybe.
I think Magnus could probably force a draw. Okay, so he's looking at this with a fork on the knight and the pawn. But then king here. Okay, so that's why he's done that. So now he can play his king here, right? But then we've got this. Ooh.
Right.
Take the pawn.
Take the pawn. But then, ooh.
Push.
Okay. Push, push, push. Okay. Oh, this is so stressful. He's got to be able to take one of those pawns now.
He's got to. He's got it. And then actually, this B pawn could be a monster. Take.
Mm-hmm.
Take.
These three coming down are menacing, though.
They are. It's just a question of time, though. I would take now.
Yep.
And then 4 jumps, and we're home. But if this guy steps forward, if the F pawn steps forward, it gets snatched off.
I think if F goes forward, check the king and take it with a rook. No.
I think knight has to take now.
Yeah.
Oof,
I think the B pawn though is Ed's only hope. Yeah. Okay, check.
Yep, and now the knight has to move. That was a good move.
Yeah.
I would have.
I think the knight's gonna go in front.
Yeah. Okay, either one.
I think going on the king side though might have been better. Either way, though, I think. Oh my gosh. We're both gonna hear about this game.
Take your time here.
Oh man.
Knight has to take.
I think even if knight takes though, this is gonna be tough.
I check here. The king's too far away.
Yeah, I would have held on to that B pawn.
Check again.
Because even though he has a rook, these pawns are really strong.
Yeah, I think what we can probably say is, yeah, white was quite happy to trade the knight for the B pawn.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But what we needed to do, what black needed to do, was to eliminate the knight, get rid of the knight by hook or by crook.
Mm-hmm,
if it meant sacking the rook,
yes,
and then the B pawn was winning. And this is this thing. Okay, hang on. Rook takes. No, I don't like it.
I don't like it. I would have held on to B. Pawn, yeah.
Rook takes now. King takes. King's got to come over.
This king is too close.
My money's on white.
Yep. Ah, he almost had it.
Up as well. Don't speed up. No.
It's done.
And now, no.
White really knew how to win this.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But it has to be said, Ed at 798, bringing a 1384 down to this sort of endgame, that's impressive.
Mm-hmm. And still could get a stalemate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Some higher rated players have been known to stalemate against Ed before.
Only one move, and then it's that. So it's that, and then that. Yeah. Let's go back on this because I think this is interesting. Let's go back to before we lost the pawn,
mm-hmm.
and see what else we could do. So I think this was a mistake.
Yeah, I would have probably threatened it with the rook. Threaten the knight with the rook.
Like this.
Make it move somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep. Make it move somewhere. Where's it?
Take and then.
Yep. You have a queen and a rook. They have a queen. I think that would have been better.
Yeah. And that looks okay. But
yeah.
They both players really sped up towards the end, and that to finish with 3 minutes or whatever, 4 minutes on the clock in a 10-minute game.
Mm-hmm. That's that
sign that you got to resist that panic.
Yeah, especially a game that's that close,
Mm.
Oof, man.
I guess 8 out of 11 moves on that.
Good job.
On for another.
Man, that was close.
Yeah.
Ed's playing again against the same. Oh no, there we go. Is everyone almost done?
Just the current ones. Should we check the standings out? We've still got
29 wins from Wasp. What happened to the 1900 player? Oh my gosh. Wow.
He's on a 4. Wasp 79 doing really well. Kelt on 6 out of 6. Play 616. There's some good stuff going. Right, let's find another one. Ignominious and salty garbage. Okay, and we have a Caracan.
Ooh, I always like the fantasy.
Yeah. Okay, and we're up to date.
This is the other question. When to break and not break the pin immediately? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I also like the psychology. I think it, probably more so in kind of blitz and 10-minute games. But to say, okay, I'll let you take me, and I'm going to capture towards the center.
Simon Williams always says, whenever the piece comes down like that, kick it right away.
He does. Yeah.
A piece in your half of the board like that. Put the question. Yeah, I like that pin. Double kick.
Cool. B4 and yeah. It's gonna have to go back here, I think.
What if just pushes A4 and we keep going? I guess A4 hangs.
2 attackers on there now.
Yeah,
I think White needs to play that. Yeah. So that's 3 defenders because discover defense by the queen.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is a thought.
Could have just pinned with the knight straight away though, and that would have taken a defender away.
Is it with this move?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the knight pins in the beginning of the game are like one of the most. You see that all the time. Every game has a knight pin of some sort, I feel like. All right.
Now black has a nice 6 and 1.
Yeah, I think knight to E5 would have been a nice move there. Oh, interesting move, the king.
Is that a mouse slip?
I don't know. Knight E5 is a good square for a knight.
Yeah.
We're not up to date though.
Challenging me.
We're not up to date. We're not up to date.
Oh, to apologize. Okay. Hit the bishop. Bishop retreats. Nice square. C5. Outpost. Okay. And then we've got a fixed backwards pawn here as well.
It's an outpost, but what? There's nothing for it to do there.
True.
I think you'd swap that off. It's awfully close.
Yeah, that's a thought. Hang on. So knight here. I think takes. Pawn takes.
And
knight here. Possibly.
Yeah, and then if bishop swaps off, pawn takes, queen exchange. That would be a lot of exchanges. Ooh, because even if bishop recaptures and pawn recaptures, the knight is still protected by a pawn and the bishop too. So that's all good.
I'm threatening this.
But knight C3 for black looks a little bit menacing.
Yeah.
Because then wherever the queen goes, they have a check on the next one on E2 if the queen doesn't defend.
Queen here then.
Yeah. Knight's too close in your face is scary.
Discoveries against the knight, actually, if the queen were to go there. Okay, so defending the pawn with the queen. That.
Wait. What if queen H5 there was an idea too?
From
back one more.
Yeah.
Queen H5 threatens check on F7. Prompts some pawn pushing.
Yeah.
But
I like this though. I'm getting better at spotting these, right? Bishop here with a discovery. Knight moves with check, wins the queen.
Yeah. Yep.
This is like, no. Now you can take the knight because pawn can't recapture. Want to be pinned. Take it. What? Not like that.
Interesting.
Now you take this, right? And the pawn can't take because it'll be pinned by the rook.
They're playing. They're playing. Keep going. Oh.
Oh, it's
What?
all gone sharp.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so how we Salty Garbage is up 2 pawns.
One false move, I feel like, on that one brought them to this position. Ooh, it's not looking good.
Have to move. I think there. Yeah. Now the queen's hanging, right? Ouch. There's not much in these plays. There's 25 points between these guys, so this is a very close one.
Yeah.
Huh.
Hanging pawn on f3. Interesting.
F3, yeah. It's quite a lot of undefended stuff, actually. I'd also be thinking
if queen
somehow maybe queen here.
Yeah, what about but queen f3 and then queen c6 is 2 pawns and a threat on bishop and rook.
Yeah.
And other bishop now. I would ignore this threat on the knight.
Yeah. So we're thinking that this pawn's pinned.
Bishop can come down, but
is pinned. Bishop takes. Oh, knight is pinned as well. Yeah, this is our guess.
I guess pawn can come down and bishop can come down to block that, but
well, that's an alternative. But you've now disconnected the rooks. I think queen takes would have been, well, in fact, the rooks were not in the same rank anyway. But maybe ideas of doubling up on the F file now. Yeah.
It's not good. How did this happen?
Less than ideal.
I still get really surprised by positions like this where I feel like I'm solid, things are going well, and then 3 moves later and you're doing this.
Yeah, you're picking your teeth up off the floor, you know.
So to speak.
Yeah, metaphorically.
There's not even a counterattack.
You see how so many of these moves are made in 5 seconds or less as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. No, I mean, they're going to lose the rook anyway.
So black's actually in quite a good position.
2
pawns up. So white has only 4 pawns, all on the king, all on the queen side. Black has these extra 2 pawns. And both have lost 2 mana pieces. And black has the bishop pair, but probably not for long. As black, I would be thinking about engaging my rook, get the king onto a light square, get these rooks all centralized, and start coming after this guy.
After this one, I'm going to just grab some lunch and then I'll come right back.
Yeah, no worries. So this will probably get about 15 views on YouTube if it's going to be like 3 hours long video.
Probably, right? Although I think the YouTube algorithm is supposed to be that longer videos do better.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I've heard some people saying, I don't know, just tempted to break stuff open in the middle now, and you've got ideas of coming. This bishop's not doing much right now. So I think, takes.
You can at least try to take a pawn with the rook.
Oh, counter attack with the queen.
An easily defeasible one, though.
No, pawn can't take, it's pinned. All right, so it has to be bishop takes. Now we take the bishop, okay. And queen takes. And this pawn is pinned again once queen takes. Why didn't you take the bishop?
It's very interesting. The not recapturing is very interesting.
This is a win here. I mean, king here, e6 check?
Oh, what about yes, and then bishop? Oh, yeah. Queen can block.
Or take here and threaten the rook. Oh, no, no, no. Bishop defends.
Interesting.
This is sharp.
I don't know. I think before moving the queen over to e6, where that pawn is now, before the bishop came in, checks the king again.
I think that has to be played at some point.
Yeah.
Push the pawn.
Pawn push. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
But surely queen is just going to take this pawn now, or bishop.
Yeah, it's got to.
Okay. Staying alive.
Indeed.
And now.
Queen's the only defender of that. Rook's undefended, but you can't attack it.
What about bishop h6 and then queen up to c7? Try to get it that way.
Yeah.
I think it's too many. I think it's too slow, though. There's a lot of ways that black can just check or do something else. Queen is tied to the bishop, so I think moving it. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Thought.
Half-assed discovery. Gotta trade queens.
Yeah.
Nope.
True.
Ooh. Done.
Dear. Wow. Okay, well, that's all over.
Yeah. All right, I'll be right back.
Okay. Let's check the standings. Wasp 79 doing very well. 11.5 out of 14. 9 out of 12. So ignominious, even after that one is down. Even after losing that game, still doing very well. Okay, 9 out of 12. Keld, 7 out of 7, perfect score. And does that mean they're playing? Great stuff. Look at this, 30 team members. This is awesome. Right. So let's see what games are going on. Got 4 at the moment. Let's try and find a... Oh, we just saw that one. Ed is playing a 1967. And material is equal. Okay, so he's attacking this pawn. Ed needs to get his king safe. Short castles is fine here. Okay, so this is a London. Let's see how it's gone. Okay, so Ed's played the London against... Okay. And we've traded. I think more often, drop bishop back here. Which is exactly what black did. And in, that's a good move, like that. Do you take the bishop? Both knights have come into opposition territory. See, I'm not sure about this trade, because this bishop is quite good. When you've got that many pawns on dark squares, I don't... Well, I mean, yes, it doubles pawns. And now black's got 2 pairs of double pawns. Queen here, okay, looking at the undefended pawn. F5, coordinates, knight here, maybe looking at long castles. It'd be tempting to take there, but still, again, we're too slow to castle. I'd have been tempted to take, maybe. Now this pawn is attacked twice and defended only once. That's the problem. I think c4 wasn't the ideal move there. Okay, and now we've gone down a pawn. Knight comes in, king moves. How about this? Attacks the queen twice. Okay, so this knight is now threatening this. But if this knight moves, for example, that's probably what I'd play. Yes, good. Now, we don't want to trade a rook for a knight and a pawn. However, opponent's king is still uncastled, so... Right, we're up to date on this one. That's bold by Ed. This pawn has to defend that knight. This is a thought. We've got to defend against this as well. Maybe rook there. Where's this queen going to go? Well, our friend Ed is certainly holding his own. This is interesting. Coming after this pawn. That could be good. Takes. Okay, knight attacks pawn. Attacks queen. Has an outpost there. So the queen now cannot go onto these light squares. With knight here. Oh, yeah. Knight takes, okay. And now Ed is down a knight for... No, he's not down a knight. He's down a couple of pawns. And there's a big mass of pawns now here on the king side. Hits the knight. This hits the rook straight back. Rook can't go there or there. There is a check, but does it achieve anything? I muted you. There you go. Yeah. So Ed is playing a hey, hey, bye, bye.
What?
A difference of 1,169 points.
Oh my gosh. Nerve-wracking.
In check. Oh, well, hang on.
Yeah, he's got it. Oh my gosh. Oh.
So Ed's down 2 pawns, but surely knight takes rook. But then knight.
Yeah, but now and then, I think rook takes rook.
Yeah.
C rook takes C8.
Yes. And that simply wins a rook outright.
Yep.
Okay, now, Ed, now is the time to slow down. In fact, every time is the time to slow down if you're playing a reasonable time.
Fair. Rook takes rook. And then he has got to move the other rook. Yes. Proud of him.
Come on, Ed.
And then the other H rook's got to go somewhere on that file. Nowhere really good.
4 squares. To be up a full rook at this point.
Yeah. Now, F8 looks tempting. Oh. All right.
Okay, so thinking he's going to use his knight cleverly, eh?
I mean, we saw this before, right?
Yeah.
That E pawn is not looking great.
This guy.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Why off to the side like that?
Look at all this massive pawns, though, ready to fight.
And I mean, maybe this is where Ed should take a look, because this is what he was down to before. Like, winning piece and material-wise, but down pawns in the endgame.
What do you think? Rook C2?
Yeah.
What? It's going to play
Yeah,
off. Yeah, of course.
it's not good. It's not good.
No, no,
Why
no.
that? It's not good. No.
It's all about the. This is what I say. Like each phase of the game has its kind of default that you fall back to. So in the opening, your default should be development.
Hmm.
If there's no immediate tactics, develop. It's almost mate.
Checkmate's coming. Yeah. Ah, man.
Yeah. In the middle game, improving your pieces, lining up the pieces against where you want to attack, building up to an attack. Oh man.
I would say that Hey Hey Bye Bye is pretty lucky
Yeah.
that Ed didn't capitalize on his advantage.
Yeah. And in the ending, your default is what is critical for extracting the best result from this game.
Hmm.
Is it or is it a draw? And what do I have to do in order to assure that?
I think the goal should have been here. Don't let your opponent
Get a queen.
get a queen. It was like Hey Hey might be a little greedy. You want to push that F pawn.
Mm.
That's the thing, though.
So far.
That's the thing, though. I mean, Ed had an advantage, but I think as a 1967, there's a lot of opportunities to pull it back, right? Because Ed's less likely to be well versed in every part of the game. So
it's interesting that we've had a couple of very instructive endgames.
you think endgames are the easiest or the hardest part?
I find it hard in a lot of cases because it gets very spatial, and you also have to think about time a lot more. Well, let's put it this way. I think that my end game is one of my weakest areas.
Yeah. I would agree. There's too many candidate moves, right? Like your king can move anywhere at some point.
There we go.
I was gonna say, where's this checkmate?
Yeah. Good one, though.
That was good. Pop away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've seen the ones at the bottom.
How about this one? 2DC.
Yeah.
And then both rated around 1100.
These numbers on the side are the games they've won?
Yeah, I think that's wins. So, and then position in the rankings. So 15 wins.
Okay.
Number 7.
Not bad. 1100.
Okay, so let's have a look. Karakan, advanced variation. Botvinnik Karl's defense. That's
You've seen that one before?
Gambit.
Yeah.
And then H3. Odd.
H3, that was really, really weird. I don't think the bishop ever had any intention coming to G4.
No, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's just going to get by the queen. So
yeah,
that's a very odd one. Okay, knight out here. So if this pawn was up here, we'd feel very French.
Yeah.
French advance. Okay. And again, queen b6. Common.
I find myself struggling in this position when the queen comes down like that. And now it's sort of looking at the d4 pawn eventually. I struggle in these positions. I don't know what really to do. Yeah, do you keep the bishop there? Do you fight for d4? Like
3 attacks on d4 now. 3 defenders, but using a piece.
Yeah, but now, b2 is hanging. That was poor.
Yeah. So yeah, I think c3 there would have been fine. And I was defending this, but really that bishop's now looking in trouble. Right here, kicking. Yeah. Okay.
Jeez.
Counterattack. Takes.
Oh, I probably would have recaptured with a knight there. not the queen. Because if we're still fighting over d4, you took 2 defenders away from that.
Right, yeah. And c3 still hasn't been played, but this is slightly threatening.
Not if it castles.
Castle's long. I don't like this bishop here at all.
Yeah, I'd swap it maybe.
Surely black's going to castle. Yep. So black's now broken the pin on the king. Swap it off, like you said. Queen recaptures. Okay, quite even.
They're playing so fast.
Yeah. So, right, how would we read this?
Oh,
It was a checkmate. Hang on.
that's that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
look, they're blitzing these moves out. 3 seconds.
White's king is really vulnerable.
Ouch.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
Wow. Good finish.
Right, let's have another look. Okay, thin white duke and 2DC is the... Okay, so this is Pitt's normal Kolmov system. Okay.
Sounds intimidating.
Against 2DC, so there's 200, yeah, a bit more than 200 points difference. That just drops the knight.
Ooh.
Oh, that's actually quite thematic.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Yeah, there's something like that in the Italian that you can do. All right, now maybe knight here and mess up this pawn here, yeah. And then queen check.
I think that was a poor way to play that. Yeah, I think there's more options than.
Yeah. Okay, so black is 1 pawn up, but has double pawns at the same time.
I'm thinking like maybe the move is c4, right, and try and fianchetto the bishop. Beat him to it, but.
I think here get queen behind the bishop and come after the dark squares here. Maybe h4, h5.
Yeah.
Bishop belongs here as well. Push. Takes.
Opens the king up.
It does. Bishop here. Look at the pawn.
I mean, I think maybe even just moving the queen out of the way, like you said. And then you can move the knight and diffuse the problem. I don't think another defender was required there. It's an idea. Yeah, I think the pin was a more pressing threat.
The threat is more serious than the execution very often. Queen c2 still defends the knight.
I think that's fine. Because if e takes d4, c3 can recapture. If bishop or knight or queen comes down, we could just recapture with the queen. And then you're all good.
Okay, so bishop to here. I was thinking bishop here.
Really blocks in the queen.
And that pawn and put the queen there to attack this.
Yeah, the queen is really packed in now. I really did not like that rook move to the e file.
$15 wins against 11 wins, though.
Yeah. So what happens with the games that you're supposed to be playing technically as like a participant?
Well, I haven't clicked new games, so I've only played one,
Hmm.
lost one, I think. So I'm going to be quite behind in the standings.
There's 39 players now.
I'm down at 31 with 0 from 1.
Wow.
Anyway, so what have we had? Okay, like that's reasonable. Bring out the bishop, block these guys off. If pawn takes, we've got 4 options to recapture.
And now I think knight g3 is an idea, because then the bishop can't keep defending that pawn.
Yeah.
And there's no more pin possibility.
Good. That was your suggestion. Well done, Juki.
And then I think even if the bishop doesn't move, right, we swap off, then that opens the king up. I think that's good.
Definitely. And then the queen can come into here on the g file.
We've seen a lot of good games.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. And I'd really be tempted now. 2 sets of double pawns and opening up the king. Oh, the queen can't come there right now, actually.
Yeah, but eventually.
I
would even.
Is that a free pawn?
No, I mean yeah, but they might swap queens off.
Pin the knight.
Ooh, and then take the pawn.
Back the pin piece. Drop back. Maintain the pin on the knight.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
There and queens will trade. And we've only won a pawn. So what you want to do is get your queen out of line of this.
Yeah. Queen could even just go to e2 or something.
There, right? Sorry? Huh.
Yeah. But I think if bishop comes back, then f is just going to push. If f pushes, though, we still win a pawn because e4 is undefended then.
Oh, true.
1, and then we have 2.
I could take out the knight first and then take it.
Well, we have two attackers anyway.
Oh, true.
Very interesting.
That's not playable.
Sort of. Oh, no, because, yeah, queen can just capture. Yeah.
Don't like this bishop. So I think it came to the wrong square. I think it should have gone here.
Yeah. I think if the queen was on c2 right now, it would be, I think, way better. Yeah, I think pawn has to push now. I think that's a good move. It's just going to force the bishop back to where it was. Lose the tempo.
I think black can breathe more easily.
I gotta swap that knight off because then your queen can come in. I really think the knight needs to go. The dark square bishop is not good.
This one or white?
No, ours, yeah.
Yeah.
But that knight is preventing queen coming in, and it's protecting e4.
And black's big weakness is the lack of the g.
Yeah, I mean, if you swap that knight off and bishop recaptures, you automatically have a check.
Queen takes, right?
I don't even think. Do you even really need to take that one?
Queen takes f3. No. Then pawn takes and we take queen.
Honestly, what if just g3?
Even that. Okay, hitting the queen again. See, f takes g2 there is not a biggie.
No, yeah, because it's just more protection.
It's the hostage situation, the human shield.
And the only defender of f3 is e4. So I think taking the knight out and taking e4 would have been a better priority. Because then queen takes f3 would have followed.
Right, 2 hours, 10 minutes into this already. That pawn is pinned again. Pawn takes would be risky. Attack the knight again, and then simply eliminate this pawn with tempo.
I guess. I don't know. If pawn takes, pawn can't recapture. Queen would have to recapture. Queen takes, pawn takes, and we're nowhere.
No.
What if bishop takes e4, knight takes e4, pawn takes f3? Then I guess you're down. You're down a pawn.
And expose the king.
Yeah, I mean, I think bishop back to h4, take the knight off would take all this tension away.
Yeah, it takes. Then we grab this, and this is gone.
Up the river.
And yeah, what?
Pawn can't push, so.
It could takes, and then threatening the rook. Okay, ignore that. Ignore that. Not thinking about this.
I don't know. It just ties your queen to defending. Unless you just swap the bishops off immediately. That's interesting. Check. What about queen f3 is now a pretty hardy check. I wouldn't have taken that.
No, I wouldn't have taken that because, you know, this pawn is actually a better defender than these guys because your opponent can't take this one.
Yeah, the only threats become f1 and h1, but the rook is there, so. I don't know.
I think the critical thing here was to remove this knight and then eliminate these.
Yes, absolutely.
To do it and didn't do it.
The knight is so powerful there. It looks like it's sitting in the background, but it's covering so many squares. That's that whole thing about like square control instead of just like looking at the pieces the squares are on. The squares the pieces are on.
Yep. And its defense of this pawn is critical.
How
about doubling up rooks? Because then you have the option of a rook lift and g3, rook g3. Pressure that.
Yeah, I mean, rook e3 stops queen. Because remember, we're 2 moves behind.
Oh, yeah. And rooks come across.
Okay.
Even more reason to stop the progress of that pawn, I would say.
Keep going.
Oh, yeah. Trading of queens.
None of this had to happen.
Rook here. So now black is thinking about doubling up rooks. So I'm thinking this looks okay. We're up to date. 3 minutes plus change on both sides. All right.
Taking an open file, but it's the file with no action.
Yeah, and you can't go there, and you can't go there, and you can't go there, and you can't go there.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I'd play that or bishop there. Bishop there might be an idea.
What if bishop b3 now? No. Bishop. And then when it moves back, maybe, and then when it moves back, maybe
can't go there.
Bishop. Oh, we're black. Okay. Take it off. It's too late. A little too late now. The knight has done its job.
3 and 2. So actually, the material difference on the board is this. Okay. Knight's now pinned.
I mean, if you just take that knight off, you win a pawn, right? Because when pawn recaptures, rook takes d5.
Yeah.
You can, and white can even just push, right? We don't have to respond to that.
Yeah, I was thinking.
But again, now the knight is a third defender of e3.
Let's attack twice. Take out the knight. Okay, it's gone for that. 2 minutes 38 against 2 minutes 26. It's going to come down to the wire. Pawn takes is compulsory. I think push here. Push and lock things off. When you've got no increment, you can just play annoying moves like that.
I don't believe that one.
Because what you want to avoid is rook e2.
Yeah, against double rooks, I would not have offered a pawn that way.
Now this or this, and the pawn.
Surely defend it now.
Can't afford to capture that.
Not yet. But if you capture that, you threaten h5. But then...
Also, king here might be an idea. No. Well,
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a pawn for a pawn.
I don't know, but it's tick-tock, tick-tock now. Come on, Duke, can you hold the line?
Because if takes h5 and black's rook takes e3, what if just rook d1, right? And then, yeah, okay, different. That's still a free pawn over there.
Do you think h4 now, prevent that?
No, I think take h4 or h5.
Oh, yeah. Much more straightforward solution.
Yeah, now the... Ooh.
2 attackers. King here.
I mean, push the pawn now. Could also be something.
Push pawn, yeah. Yeah, good call.
And if you can if that pawn can get to e5, then you can slide the rook over d1 and then try to cause some trouble that way. That bishop move down to h6 was really good. Okay, what if
I would play that all day.
What if rook d5? Offer the exchange of that, and then the pawn is out in the middle. Yeah.
Exactly.
We have a passed pawn.
Yeah.
And d6 is covered by the bishop. It can't capture, I guess, because it's pinned right now, but get the king out of the way and then it's available. I would probably...
Because then takes, that's not playable.
I would probably swap off rooks at this point. 2 points up for white duke.
Yeah, and 40 seconds on the clock, so I think get the king onto a light square is...
Yep.
King is on a light square. Okay, now...
Get the king on another white square. Interesting.
Not this.
No, I mean, e5 would have threatened that bishop. Oh, but I keep forgetting that the thing's pinned.
That gives up a pawn. Yeah, he needs to break this pin.
Yeah, I think queen f3, king f3 is perfectly fine. Because where are you going to go from here?
Now bring in the king.
All
the way. Bishop is then free. That, yeah, also pawn. A3, is that too risky? A3, bishop takes.
This is quick.
23 seconds.
Oh man.
Kicking off.
I think A3 would have been the move there.
Mm-hmm.
Pawns that are together in the end game are just like almost unstoppable. No.
Yeah.
He's falling apart.
Come on, 10 seconds to go. Come on, Duke. You have this. Okay. I pre-move that king move.
Yeah.
At this point. Okay.
Nope.
9. Come on.
Bishop F4. Rook H6.
Yes, nice. 1. Ooh. 4, 3, 2.
Oh man, take it quick. Ah.
Right.
I wonder how many times 2DC's won on time.
2DC's now got 17 games under his belt. This is cool. All right, let's see what else we've got on.
40 minutes left.
Wasp is on 45 wins. How? He's just eating through opposition. Okay, that one's finished. What else we got? Anything close-ish?
So does this go on until the time is done?
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
What am I looking at here?
This is Thin White Duke as black against the Grob. Okay, grab the center.
Grob it is. Ugh. What a terrible opening for white.
It's horrible.
I'm uncomfortable.
It's got an awful bishop already. And look at this knight. This knight can't even move.
I think you got to do E3, right? E3, get the bishop out. Knight E2, castle. Not even castle because you can't go that way. But
yeah,
I hate when people move wing pawns first.
No, I mean, there's a serious point here. Don't play the Rob opening.
Yeah.
At all. Particularly if you're rated 522.
Yeah, seriously.
Anyone under 1,000 should be playing from the stand. Oh my. What boy?
What piece was going to go there?
Well,
yeah, I think
possible, but you've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pawn moves in your first 5 moves, and your development is on 0.
I mean, Bot Boys won 0 games, so.
Yeah. Okay, what we need to be doing now is getting up minor pieces out in the board.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Belongs in my punishing dumbass opening series, this Grob attack. I don't get it.
I mean, you can always include this one.
G4 on the first move.
I don't see.
You're asking the deep pawn to move, and then bishop attacks it straight off.
And now we're blocking in the white square bishop.
And the queen.
And the queen.
And this bishop's got nothing. Oh, it can't even go there, look.
I would say now maybe F4 is an idea to open things up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, then queen just comes down to H4, and it's done.
Yeah, you can see why so many chess teachers say just play the standard stuff, right? And focus on tactics, focus on basic discipline, not hanging your pieces, all that kind of stuff. But there's no argument at all for playing something ridiculous like the Grob.
Yeah, and I don't think you would ever have someone that's like, I'm gonna get real good at the Grob opening.
No, yeah, exactly. And Bird's opening as well is similar with F4, isn't it? It's 1 F4.
Mm.
And you know what? You could find yourself with some wins because of surprising your opponents at that. But bottom line, it's all going to come down to mistakes. But even just looking at this now, right, we're on move 7. White has one piece developed on move 7.
Mm-hmm.
White could be practically completed by now.
Yeah.
And another pawn push.
Oh my gosh, what's that one?
I don't know. But boy, you high.
I think now pushing f4 maybe because the queen can't come down. But again, it's like the only purpose of that would be to just open stuff up so you can get pieces out.
This is horrible. You know? The only square for this knight is there. The only square for the bishop is there.
Only square for the queen is there.
Same for the queen. All 3 of them want to go to that d2 square. This is horrible. This is so ugly. Oh, I tell you what. Let's gain space by throwing more pawns up the board. Bot boy needs to go into pawn detention.
Mm.
Okay.
Might as well.
I think so.
Have some compensation for your pawn that traveled all the way up there.
Flip the board and see it from Duke's point of view. Look, he's ready to castle. He's ready to castle. Probably wants to put his knight here, depending on what happens here. Yeah, I think I'd probably swap off. You think you're going to be castling this way, open up the F-file. Yeah, definitely swap.
I can see how a game like this, though, would look a little crazy to someone who doesn't, or who maybe doesn't have a grasp on like basic opening principles, because there are a lot of pawns everywhere, and it's like, where can things go? And I think capitalizing on a poor position is a skill.
So I think probably bishop blocks is almost certain here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a disgusting position for white. And it's your own fault, bot boy.
Bot boy.
Okay, bishop e2 was played, indeed. Right, there's no reason for black to initiate the trade. No.
Yeah.
Now all you've done is you've liberated that queen. Right, here. Oh, having said that, actually, the threat is bishop takes, queen takes, and we lose the queen.
Yeah.
But surely f5 here would be, I don't know.
Or just anything else.
Anything at all. But so now queen takes. And you've just released this queen.
Yeah, you've improved the position for white, for sure.
I mean, white's still got problems with the dark square bishop.
But white also has a free pawn on d5.
That is true. And then,
I mean, I will say, it looks chaotic from white's position, but I don't think black is doing well enough to capitalize on it. I think black is missing a lot of opportunities for attacking.
I think black needs to castle because white isn't castling anytime soon. And then black needs to come and try and bust open this. I mean, it's very, very basic tactical idea or strategic idea, but chess is basics. It's just layer upon layer of basics. Yeah, I think I would. I'd get the king castled now. Just try and get my pieces out into the board, trade off pawns here, get the rooks in the middle.
I mean, if black doesn't castle, white has, queen b5 that also looks at the d5 pawn. White has ways to wiggle in here if black's not careful. And castling now mitigates that, right? But then now the knight can come in and take d5, and now you have some pieces converging on the king.
How do you find, how much of a challenge is it for you right now at this stage in your development to convert winning positions? Has it always been a problem, or is it getting easier?
In blitz, it's very difficult for me, especially as the time gets down. I start moving quickly and things tend to get away from me that way. But I think in longer time games, I've been doing a lot better with like structurally being sound and really not even giving my opponent a chance to win, right? So it's like that stuff has been getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always had a problem with that. All right. Some pawns on the king side now have to move to sort of diffuse these pieces coming in, I think.
I like this for white. Wriggle the knight through here.
Interesting.
Try and get the bishop to swap off, but otherwise you're also threatening mate.
That queen is almost smothered.
Yeah. Oh. Almost.
Yeah. It has one square, e6, right?
But still, look, again, development.
Mm-hmm.
No rooks involved.
I mean, even maybe the a pawn could come up and start messing with the king side of things.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's artificial. It's artificial. Yeah. Because now the knight is trapped.
And white is down to 3 minutes on the clock.
Yeah. I mean, the knight's protected by a pawn, so that's...
Hang on, queen can't go there. If this is forced, how about d5?
Mm. And then queen back to f.
That could be good, actually. This, then d5.
And then
wins the knight.
Knight can just take. The e knight could have taken that one.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so retreat the queen. Even just here.
Yeah, I think queen to c4.
You need to be snappy. Yeah.
Queen to c4 is a really good option because then the queen can't even come down. Queen's trapped. That's it.
D6.
Queen is trapped.
Queen is trapped, and you called it. Good play by white, but you've only got 2.5 minutes to convert if you can get this queen. If you can.
Yeah, that's something, not to go back to Ed, but that's something that Ed does too. Like he'll get a winning position, but then he'll go on the defensive for some reason. He doesn't capitalize on his good position, and then he can't win because he doesn't attack.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that something that's really important there is to be able to say to yourself, you know, when there is an attack on the cards,
I think the queen can just go back.
Do is to attack. You know, it's the correct move. Sometimes throwing it like in, you know, the Vienna way with queen attack, you know, when the bishop comes out, it's like the correct move is queen h5.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, sometimes front foot is the best. And Ed is one of those who tends to chase, to run away from shadows a lot.
Yeah. I think queen back to b3 here maintains the trap.
Yes, exactly. So she needs to stay on this diagonal. Good, well played.
Yeah, and then even if
2 minutes on the clock.
I mean, to get out of this trap, like they're just gonna have to give up a knight. Knight to d5 would block the queen. Oh, but then you can just take the queen. Yeah, no, there's no way out of this trap.
No.
You can't threaten the queen again in any way I can see. Well, bishop takes b4, check.
Oh, another the queen.
Just take.
Okay,
just take that, I guess.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Pawn takes. Yeah.
Yeah. Had to give up a piece.
What boy? You have redeemed your grob. But look at this. Look at this, Christina, on the timings, right? Bot boy, 6 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds, and then suddenly had to chew up his whole clock.
Yeah, started thinking.
Found himself in a tough position. I really like to see people spend a bit. What?
Yeah, I mean, he got out of it.
Ah.
Yeah.
But he had to surrender his knight. Okay. Now you need to move really quick. So, okay.
Ooh, okay.
I think these moves.
I think it would be wise for black to swap out queens. Or actually, maybe not. He's 4 points down, but.
So in actual fact, would we say that this was inaccurate because queen a2, no, would have still had knight takes here with queen. Yeah. Okay. But Duke has 5.5 minutes on the clock.
Queen c5 now, or c4 maybe. Or knight takes. Yeah, knight could just take, but then knight recaptures,
Sure.
queen can't recapture.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think knight takes would be the move here.
Knight takes. Knight takes.
Mm, mm, mm.
White has bishop here as well with potential discovery against the rook.
Yeah, I had a feeling this exchange was coming.
Trade down without thought, I would say.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You haven't got time to think about this, mate. Bot boy, wake up.
Bot boy's got us up and down, huh? First we're cursing his opening, and then now we're cursing his time usage.
Yeah. You'll be the death of me, bot boy. No, you see, far too much time having to be spent now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the way he played, I'm surprised now that he hasn't won any games, but seeing how he's using his time, then that makes sense.
I have 20 seconds now. I would have just snatched that queen straight off. You know, and this is the thing when we talk about the endings. You have to do whatever you have to do. And sometimes you just have to throw material at your opponent to give yourself a chance of winning. And this hesitation is a sure path to not winning.
Yeah. And I think it's hard for some players to like feel like, you know, one minor piece in the end game is going to be enough to win it, right? They don't want to give up their queen and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel confident they can just win with, you know, just a knight in the end and a couple pawns, you know.
Okay, so we've got time for, right, that one's finished.
A couple more.
Hair trigger, B check. Let's try that one then. Okay.
Who's still playing? How can you, I guess not everyone, right?
But these are the open games right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's check out this one. This is quite deep into it as well now. Ooh, that's a threat.
Mm-hmm. I also see.
This is the idea, right?
Yeah, queen could have came straight to that file though with one move if they wanted to go to that file, just F3.
This knight is really, really menacing.
Yeah, right in your face. Yeah, I think queen F3 there would have maintained the threat.
Okay, black's looking to undouble.
Yep.
I think I just sidestep that and ignore it.
Interesting. I don't know if that was enough compensation for white. King can still castle?
Yeah, white's castled, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think queen to F3 there was the better move because then it maintains the threat of knight coming into F6, right?
Yeah. What do you think? Knight in here, force bishop takes.
Yeah, and then no castling probably from black.
I think a rook lift for white makes sense too. The rook's not doing very much there.
Yeah, I don't see why defending the queen with a rook was the idea.
This rook is tied to the defense of that pawn. Or even just knight back to here, you know. Knight back to here. Maybe rook lift. Come after this bishop. I don't know. One thing you don't want to do is trade off that terrible pawn, that terrible bishop for
yeah, I was going to say, some players might find it tempting just to trade things off, but that is a terrible bishop for a really good knight.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I think it's more flexible somehow.
Yeah, where's the knight going to go from here? I would open the center up, like you said, knight F6 right then. Oof. Pinch yourself.
You said that this is black's better bishop, even though it's not fantastic.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, there's only 20 minutes left of the tournament.
Yeah, went really fast.
It's really flown.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Indeed. And we have been entertained. Are you not entertained?
Bot Boy alone had us entertained.
Bot Boy needs going to leave me needing to lie down in a darkened room.
One of us can give him some lessons.
Ooh, what? What? I mean, it's a thought.
Ooh, yeah, take that file.
Rook here. Rook there now. I'm not sure.
What about rook to the 7th right now, right? Like, threaten that bishop and the pawn behind it.
He's done it. Point. He's done it.
Nice.
That is defended only once. It could move to here, but you could hardly call that an improvement. I don't know. I don't like this knight here.
No, I don't. I didn't understand that one. Without a king being castled, definitely open the center up.
Yeah, I do feel like there are kind of specific things to be looking for at certain bands. You know, like I made a video earlier on in the week for somebody who was stuck in 500 to 600, and it's like one move blunders. That's it. That's all you have to worry about at that level.
I saw that one. Yeah. I saw that one.
You know what? Now I like this. Hit the rook. Come in here with check.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
And
nice.
At what point would you say that assessing good pieces, bad pieces becomes important?
It becomes really important, I think, especially when you're in the mode of just swapping things off whenever you can. Yes. I think that evaluation becomes really important. And I think that's probably a boundary for a lot of people. Because I see so many lower rated players like swap pieces off just for it seems like no reason, just because it's available. They call it simplifying, but it's like it's not simplifying if there's no point, you know?
Like that good. Right, the king now has to move. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah. Really, I think the next
an awful lot, but that no rook takes.
Yeah.
His rook has to run away now. Okay, that's a thought.
And I think the next step after evaluating whether a piece is good or not is making your opponent's pieces bad, right? Like clogging up the bishops and, you know, cornering the queen and stuff, making the pieces bad is like the next step after that.
Yeah. And I would say from, 1400 up, then what we started talking about at the beginning, which is when you're talking about the control of squares rather than just looking at the wood.
Yeah.
Look at the space. And that's something that I get a lot of watching Simon Williams as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He always talks about think about what your opponent's ideas are and just stop the idea. Make it so they can't do it.
We still have annoyances here. We could hit the rook again, but nothing really achieved by that.
Yeah. But again, I'll say like the other knight could probably help out here, but not where it is right now. It's a dead knight where it is right now.
This guy. Yeah.
Yeah, it can't move. It can't move forward in any way. Oh, hung that rook.
Wow.
A fall from grace.
He's under time pressure as well, though. Again, look at this very, very fast first few moves.
He missed it. He missed the rook.
Going to burn your clock a lot. Yeah. Come on. What just happened? And now he knows.
Oh my God. Back and forth.
Okay, White's going to try and flag him now.
Push that pawn.
How about that? No, hit the bishop.
Yeah, that's an idea too.
And then knight into here.
Yeah, but I think the H pawn has the potential to get kind of dangerous.
But again, even if takes, we've got push F3, and you've got human shield again.
Hmm.
Black is
Yeah.
potentially getting suffocated here.
It's a shame when you see just like free stuff go to waste. This guy's won 45 games. 45 games? Have we really had time to play that many?
Yeah, apparently.
What?
Or is it 45 points? I can never be sure. Maybe it's
I think
you get
45 points, maybe.
like 2 points for a win or something. Okay, okay, good. Spotted that. And Keld here has got 5 minutes on the clock. I think pawn takes is fine there. Or take the rook.
Take the rook. Take the rook. If the pawn advances some more, you can just take it off with the other rook.
Free stuff.
Free stuff everywhere. Yeah, that's an idea. That pawn is free anyway with the knight there. B5 can be taken by the knight on D6.
This one?
Ooh, no, the other. Sorry, by white. White can take B5.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Why not? I probably would have en passanted that just to open.
It's going to be decided by the flag.
Yeah, it's a shame.
No, because then bishop takes, pawn's pinned. Doesn't work. I'd probably just like go king here or something, just annoying. And the opponent's on 38 seconds. Your only focus really needs to be not blundering.
Yeah, knight takes B5 is an idea. And then it can go up. No. Blunder. No. Missed blunder.
That was a better move, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Again, knight can't go there, same reason. So yeah, the control of squares becomes, it's almost like an ethereal. Oh, and now it's defended.
Yeah, good one.
Bishop. Okay, just drop back. See, I'd have put the bishop on this square anyway, looking at the pawn, but that's defended now as well.
Well, that's pinned, so that's not defending it yet.
No, my rook. Oh no.
Man.
16 seconds.
Just move somewhere.
Can pull this one off. No. Don't know. Not with 5 seconds on the clock, he can't. Nope. Good. Oh,
interesting. Nice. No. Why?
Right. There's only 15 minutes left on the whole thing. So
yeah. So that's definitely points because Keld just got 4 points for that win.
Right. That makes more sense. Okay. Let's look at Jim Star and Hair Trigger.
Let's do it.
Okay. Oh, Vienna game.
Here we go.
We're watching from the correct side.
We gotta. Ooh, the mirror.
Oh, hang on. This
is interesting.
That's an odd one.
Yeah.
Preventing the knight from coming in here. C6 can be annoying in some lines.
Yeah, but when the knight comes down to mimic, right? Bishop C4 is the move.
Okay, so we're threatening mate. G6, now queen f3. Okay, so this is like a wayward queen. Don't think I'd play that yet.
Knight, yeah.
It's a thought. Another idea is D3, bishop out with a pin. Okay, that's playable. Fianchetto to there. Now D3, yes. Queen E7, okay. Probably preparing to castle.
Castle, yeah.
I'd still think about the pin. Yeah, bishop's no good there. I think there. Bishop G5, good. Castles, knight is now pinned.
Take it, take the knight. It's under defended.
It is, yeah. But also we have this.
Okay. I'll just take it.
That one. Now take the knight. Just take it.
Surely. Oh, take the queen. Duh.
Oh my lord! Didn't see that. Okay, and now we just
take the knight.
Takes. Yeah.
Wow. What a game. Jim Starr winning with the Vienna. I mean, that's what they say about the Vienna, right? Like lower rated players are really not often to see it.
Yeah.
I think I would have taken. I think I would have taken with the bishop there.
Trade.
Yeah, absolutely trade.
When you're up a queen, trade off, pawn takes, and then castles.
Nice.
I think probably.
Free stuff.
Can't play bishop there. This pawn's pinned. Or short castles and get the rook behind the f pawn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One more free pawn to grab.
Yeah.
I tell you though, sometimes I've gotten greedy where I'm in this position and I just like start eating pawns and then my opponent's sacked from another side.
This bishop's not good.
No. I probably would bishop.
I think f4, f5.
Mm.
Maybe even stick 2 rooks behind. Okay, well, that's a thought, but
capture it.
Bishop takes or
I would definitely do pawn. This looks very puzzly with the 2 rooks on the first rank and the queen coming in.
I would take with the bishop. If you eliminate bishops, you've got
Yeah,
a whole queen. Got a whole queen more. Yeah.
If black's bishop recaptures, pawn recaptures. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Rook couldn't recapture because the. Oh wait, no, never mind.
I mean, very often in like, particularly in like opposite side casting situations, if you could pick up half a dozen of your own pawns and just throw them on the floor, you feel like I'd be happier, you know. So sometimes
wait.
Pawns does you a favor.
Something good here. So queen f4 check, and then king only can go to a8, and then pawn up check with the bishop.
Like it.
Loses the rook.
You've also got potentially a rook sack.
Yes, just like all the puzzles. Like a million puzzles go like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You can still do it. Queen f4. Do it.
Well, it's black to play, so I would not like to be handling the black pieces in this particular situation.
Mm-hmm.
Still on.
Do it.
Yeah. Sack takes there. King goes here.
Yes. No, I think when the king goes into the corner, pawn, c7. He's got to be.
Mate. No, he's got bishop blocks.
Bishop blocks, but then pawn takes rook. And we can even think about, no, come on.
Okay.
Gold at their fingertips. Yeah. Gets a little scary when the other side you can get a couple checks in when you think you're so good.
Well, this is not good. Boy, no. It's not. But then rook here, you see.
Yeah. No, it's got to go to e2.
There, then bishop here, and then f3, but then rook in again. It's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't win. This is the power of two. Oh, bishop takes there as well. I think rook has to come in now.
At this point, if black would stop checking, pawn c8 has to, or c7 would have been mate. Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah, because the queen's guarding that, pawn's guarding that. Excellent stuff. Right, 7 to go. 1 for the road.
That was a good game.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Oh, it's in the Vienna. Of course, we're going to enjoy it. Okay.
Then white Duke, one more.
Right, let's have a quick look. Oh, Vienna again.
Heck yeah. Copycat.
Full copycat.
Ooh. What's going to happen? Nope. Bring up that knight.
You think knight here and or queen f3 renew the checkmate threat, or knight in now?
I think renewing the checkmate threat is very playable though from black, because you can block it in like so many different ways. Yeah, maybe knight now. I think knight there would have been fun.
The timing of this knight d5 move is so often important.
Mm-hmm.
But also here, I like this. Bishop in here.
Ooh, this is a similar position we saw before.
Now this and the knight's pinned. We're attacking queen, knight, and c7.
Yeah. And it's still under defended, so it could just be taken.
True.
Ooh.
How often do I get?
I would take it. No, just
counterpunch with this.
No. Oh my gosh. Queen could have taken f6 there. And then if trade queens, you're 3 points up.
Yeah.
Oh, but then knight down to c2.
Yeah. The king d2, and you still get okay. Good.
Hmm.
I wonder if we could do like a Vienna tournament where you
only play the Vienna.
The first 3 moves are set, and you have to play on from move 2 after knight c3. I think you could do that.
You and I could do one where we just play the Vienna back and forth. Whoever has the white pieces just plays. You can go through all the different variations.
Yeah. Oh, now c3 is just a fork.
Mm-hmm. These spunky 1100 players playing the Vienna.
Knight takes.
Yeah, for
sure. Or even queen takes.
Yeah, I think queen takes would have been the move there. Still have a hanging knight there. Still have a hanging queen.
Yeah.
Ooh, take with knight.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Duke is not having a jolly time of it, but
Queen is lined up with the king on the light diagonal too.
It's true. It is true. C6 and. Do you remember when you first started learning chess and you were watching videos and that you've got like these IMs like Eric Rosen and John Bartholomew or whatever, Levy, just saying all this notation, and you're going, oh, I can't even understand what you're doing. But now,
yeah,
like a couple of years later, it's like I know that C6 because it's C6.
Yeah. I still am a little shaky with notation, but it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely fine to resign there, and I think we'll make that our last game. But we might and watch let's keep up with the standings. 12-game winning streak for Wasp 79.
Jeez.
16.5 wins out of 19 games. Kel has an even better 13 out of 14. 10.5 out of 12. These guys are doing well.
Yeah, wow.
Ignominious. And who's down at the bottom?
You.
No, I've still done better.
But boy.
Unlucky. I know.
He's only played 10 games.
So is he playing now? He's playing now. And I think this is going to be the end. Come on, bot boy. We believe in you. Yeah. You're 3 pawns down. Oh, dear.
We believe in you. I would have loved to play.
So now he plays the English.
Mm.
Bot boy, got 4 words for you. E4, D4. Come on. Enough with this grob and English openings. Do it properly.
Can you call E a word for... I have 4 characters for you.
Okay, well, so Caro-Kann system against the English. Wow. D4 here, I'd have said, but okay. And now putting a knight out to H3. Now, you sometimes do this in the French with your dark square bishop, but that looks just too funky. And now, where are you going to get your kings to safety? I mean, you have to think about these things. Okay, bishop wants to come out. Good. Queen wants to come out. Let's get castled.
Bot Boy still already has 3 minutes.
I mean-
only 3.
Hmm?
He already has only 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Again, look, really, really quick first 3 moves, and then suddenly has to slow down a lot and think.
Mm-hmm. Game surely must be over now.
Oh. Oh,
Nice.
That one by chance. Unlucky Bot Boy. Anyway, so there we go. I think we are going to be, this is going to be the end of the, how many games are still running? A couple? 7?
Fun time.
Yeah,
I'd love to play. I'd love to play in the next one.
Yes, I think we should. Well, let's have a think, and let's take opinion from the club. But yeah, I think Bot Boy should start with a Vienna, and stop doing this messing around business with your pawns at the start.
Yeah. So what are you thinking about a collab? What's your ideas?
Yeah, I think we should definitely do something. If you're back on the horse and really wanting to push forward. Game finished, and congratulations to Wasp 79, first place with 57 points,
17-19,
3 losses and a single draw. But Keld Mikkelsen, 13 wins and 1 loss.
Wow,
excellent stuff. And look at that, 12, 13, and 10 winning streaks. That is
very cool.
Awesome stuff. But yeah, I think we will definitely have some conversations about where we'll take this, because and everyone who's watching as well, let us know. But it's fascinating to talk and actually just chat with other players around your same level, because we can compare notes like we've been doing a lot through this and learn. And I like this co-commentating as well, because we get to pick up ideas and different ways of looking at the board and from each other, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Let me know if you're still thinking about that think tank coaching idea. I would definitely be down to still do that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that
and as always,
interesting.
Anyone that needs lessons, I'm willing to do that as well.
Fantastic, good stuff. All right, well, thanks everyone for watching. That'll probably put it out as a single 3-hour video and see what happens. But it's going to have to upload overnight now. All right. Christine, thank you. Thank you for joining. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys have all enjoyed watching as well. And we'll see you all soon. I have to do this again.